Hirohito was he was the emperor. He was the emperor of Japan, and the lineage of the emperor they believed went all the way back to the early days of the infancy of the Japanese nation, and that they kind of traced that back to they called it the land of the sun, and that of the rising sun, that it was kind of this one of these creation stories, and that the early Japanese people believed in, just like many of the primitive people had a creation story, and that creation story was supposed to spawn the emperor's family. And so for throughout those times, everyone had believed that the emperor was God. And hi there, how you doing? So when World War II came about, one of the important features of the emperor's status was that everyone fell in line to what the emperor was asking people to do. And so the whole push to change the shape of Asia under the Japanese conquering leadership was, the plan that people just listened to, and they just did. And so this whole idea of the deification of the emperor was a pretty central part of the Japanese conquest of all of Asia.
Okay.
So there. I was going to tell a little bit the story when I first went to Japan, that I met an older guy who had been there for many years, and he got me interested in this book, and this book it's a pretty interesting book because it does go into some of these I'll call them black ops and the things that kind of were the behind-the-scenes story that really wasn't told, if you will. And if you can understand by the title, what it talked about was whether or not the emperor was kind of guilty of the greatest war crime of all. So meaning when we look back at Hitler, obviously we hold Hitler responsible, okay, but the irony of the U.S. victory in Asia was that was Hirohito actually held responsible for those crimes? Okay.
Or basically losing.
Right. Well, the vanquished leadership, should they be held responsible? That's kind of I guess a good question. When
I'd say yes and no. They're basically leading. So.
And their job is sort of the same job as the leadership on the other side, and that's to win at all costs.
He didn't give all costs.
Well,
He actually.
Well,
Didn't they decide to stop fighting because after they saw the power of the atom bomb, they were fearful that we would attack Japan. They wanted to save the imperial family from the horrors of that destruction. So isn't that why they signed the treaty?
Yes. Well, part of the decision on the U.S. side to actually drop the bomb was that the thinking at the time was, without the bomb, that it was clear that the Japanese would not give up, and that the whole thing would continue to go at all costs, and that there still had to be some way to send a message that this is going to be over, and I think there was there was study made about where the bomb would actually be dropped.
Yeah, and Nagasaki, it wasn't supposed to be dropped on Nagasaki. Hiroshima was the target, but Nagasaki, they dropped it because they didn't have enough fuel to go on.
And you know, they decided, of course, not to drop it on someplace like Kyoto, because it's a beautiful city, and they realized that it needed to go on into the future.
It's either take a giant loss, destroying a whole other empire, or just getting little parts and helping them come back.
Right. Well, I think before the bomb was dropped, there were still pretty ferocious air raids that started pretty intense fires in Japan on the mainland, and you know, I think the typical houses in Japan at that time were still sort of paper wood kind of things, and you know, those fires were pretty intense fires, and you know, I think the death toll was pretty intense.